You know, some people say space-time doesn't exist. Space and time. Space and time definitely do exist. I mean, sure, there may be time relativity, but space and time definitely exist. Like right now, I'm walking across space. It's taking a certain amount of time in order for me to walk across that space. I realized that the source of reality, Alpha Omega Omega Alpha, 1991, 1991. I realized that to a degree there is no space-time, but there also is. There actually is space-time. You can't say there's no space-time when I'm literally traversing across space-time right now. It's, oh, time doesn't exist. Yeah, it does exist. It's just for a fucking reason. It's a unit of measurement. You may experience that time relatively different, but it still exists in the same way that the measurements of units for space exist as well. You know, centimeters, cubits, millimeters, etc. Space clearly exists, so does time. If it didn't, we wouldn't have instrumentation in order to track it. And we have that instrumentation. So space-time exists. It may not exist entirely in the way in which it is that it's been described for us to exist, but it most certainly does exist. Of course, there is a level of time relativity, but most of these things are theoretical. I mean, E equals mc squared. To this day, nobody can actually break apart that equation for me. And the reason is because it's all relative. It's strange where they derived all of these mathematics. I think maybe the letters and characters were really used to hold concepts that were imbued mathematically. It is weird. It was like back in the olden days, theoretical frameworks and concepts, in order to get a certain level of credibility and legitimacy, had to have some sort of equation or mathematic formula in order to give it some sort of real life tangible value. Yet nobody knows those formulas. Nobody can explain them to you. They can explain the theory, but nobody can reverse engineer the formula and explain the formula to you. So nobody can prove whether it's theoretical or not, but it is theoretical. I mean, time flies when you're having fun. There's nothing wrong with theoretical stuff, but I mean, when you look at it as empirical evidence, then it does become a bit of an issue. So basically, so if there's 10 kilometers, right? I can travel across 10 kilometers at a certain speed. Someone else can travel across those 10 kilometers at a certain speed as well. I may be quicker, they may be slower. Okay? Now, we're traveling the same distance, and let's say we both have an equal time trip. So it takes us both half an hour to traverse 10 kilometers, right? So, but I could experience that half an hour completely differently to the other person. The other person could be experiencing that half an hour like really quick, you know, be having fun, Oh, we're here already? Oh, damn. The other could be moving really slow, be like, oh, how long is this going to take? 30 minutes, blah, blah, blah. So the experience of the same time, the same distance, changes. And in that change, well, that's exactly what it is. The experience of that time traversed and the experience of so forth and so on, and the experience itself is different. So it's not that the measurement or the distance or the time is incorrect. It's quite simply dependent upon the conscious observer, right? Who is creating a certain level of time dilation based on their consciousness state, which in that particular trip will either experience the trip to be longer than it actually is or shorter than it actually is. It's kind of similar to a level of body dysmorphia, which people have, where they see themselves as far more unattractive than it is that they are. You know, where somebody else could have this exact same body and experience themselves as being super duper attractive. You know what I mean? So ultimately, as you can see, all reality boils down to perception. Our experience of all these aspects and components in reality boil down to perception. Right? It's a perceivably generated reality to begin with, meaning it's our perception which is generating the experiences that are occurring within our reality, or at least guiding us to them, and in a way creating them for ourselves to experience. So yeah, on one level I do believe in reality there is no space and also infinite space at the same time. Because reality is, paradoxically divine, beautiful, and strange like that. A lot of people would look at it as such a daunting mystery. How can there be no space in reality? And then for there to be space in reality at the same time that there is no space in reality. Okay? That'll blow your mind, right? But before anything could exist, before there was any perception of space, there was no perception at all, meaning there was no space that existed at all. But the Alpha or Omega, meaning that simultaneously occurred, non-existence and existence simultaneously occurred at the same time, which is insane. Wow. So, although I say time relativity is theoretical, I do believe in it, absolutely. And I do believe it is a powerful concept given by Albert Einstein. And very useful in order to really be able to comprehend these extremely abstract cases and scenarios to do with reality and space-time. So, it blows my mind. I believe that, wow. The implications of what it is I'm saying are crazy. Okay, so I believe reality started in 1991. I believe that at that point, past, present, and future timelines and realities were created simultaneously. And it's the same paradox as existence and non-existence, Alpha or Omega, beginning and the end. Because reality has to have a starting point, but the thing is that we always assume that starting point is linear and had to have started in some beginning somewhere. But that's not it at all, because what you've got is non-existence and then existence, which simultaneously, basically non-existence can only exist, non-existence couldn't have existed for that long. Because as soon as, it's just no beginning, no end. Fuck, it's insane. Jesus. To be honest, it's just so divine. To be honest, reality, how realities actually come about based on the information I've been going through, observing, calculating, putting together. Fucking blows my mind. No beginning, no end. Past, present, and future, simultaneously created, omnidirectionally throughout consciousness. Formless consciousness, giving birth to extremely, incredibly structured form. This form evolving throughout time, as well as the consciousness as well, of all creatures, the earth, the animals, etc. It's in a way, I don't want to say that, a holographic consciousness light matrix. Yeah. Which was created by God, who seemed to have willed himself into existence. And in willing himself into existence, basically God is like the sleeping giant. It was just like sleeping, and then like a baby that gets born for the first time. It's incredible. And God is a sleeping giant, and there's like eyes open, light, baby born for the first time. And then throughout all reality came through God. Because all reality has a center. And that center manifested into a being. And that manifestation manifested through God all other beings. which simultaneously exist in God and around God at the same time. So, you know, this is where the perceptual based scientific perspectives of it really gets strange, very strange. I'm not gonna lie to you, it'll blow your mind. Looking into this, it'll fucking blow your mind, I'm not gonna lie. But you know, when you see it and you access these realms of dimensions based on consciousness off of these calculations, theories and assumptions in which it is that I've created, actually observations. I mean, my life is, I am my own greatest laboratory. I use my mind and my consciousness in order to conduct simulations, in order to attain certain information. And I can tell you now, there is a being that every single other being is connected to. It's like that Holy Spirit. It was like it was dark and it was light, but it was light and dark at the same time. It goes back to the Bible. It says, but it was light. And first, and then came light within the darkness. Yeah, simultaneously. Which means that there was light the whole time. Jesus. No beginning, no end. We always look at things in such a linear format, A to B. We don't look at it like A to B to C. We don't look at it like B to A to C to B, and you know, you're getting all these shapes and patterns around. We just look at it as like line here, line there, line there. We don't look at it as like line here to here, back, and then around here in a circle, and around there in a circle, and then from this angle around there, and then creating a 3D volumetric structure, and then spaces between there, and right? Because consciousness is omnidirectional. It's not linear. It's spherical, if anything. Because you, like right now, maybe your eyes may be looking forward, but you have an awareness of a 360-degree level around you. So in that sense, your awareness and your consciousness is omnidirectional. Okay, it's not linear. It's not like, oh, while I'm looking there, I just see A to B. No, it's like all around you, based on the senses that have been given in your body, whether it's feeling behind you, intuition, sixth sense, eyes, ears, taste, smell. These things allow you to have an omnidirectional perspective. So it's not like some linear perspective, right? So what this has to do with reality, it just shows you how like the fundamental nature in which it is that reality had given birth to itself. God had given birth to himself. That's what makes it the Immaculate Conception. The Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit are the same being. That's the crazy part. The Holy Spirit is like the baseline pure consciousness that all reality is comprised of and comes from. So it's the space in between space. And then that willed itself into existence, creating God. And the Father and the Son were the less aware, more aware. It was just a metaphor of scale and calculation and observation of the development of God, aka the Holy Spirit, the ineffable, which essentially willed itself into existence magically. All reality came about instantaneously. Anything you can think of, like past, present, and future, like reality could have been created in 1991, and literally everything would be created. The past, all these, and as though it happened. You know, this is weird, because there's so much consciousness, there's so many infinite variables, that there is no limitation on which point reality can start. And from that point in which it starts, what it is it can create. Because once you take infinity, which is divinity, it's funny how infinity and divinity sound the same. But once you take those two and you give that life, you get things beyond your wildest imagination instantaneously happening. And that's why I use the word divinity in order to describe it. Because at a certain point, it becomes fucking incalculable. Like some of the stuff, I don't even bother calculating, or I just put it to bed and then figure it out later. But eventually, a lot of this stuff becomes so fucking incalculable to the point where I came up with a saying where I said, you know, you don't need to be able to explain magic or divinity or miracles in order to know they exist. Like I am able to explain them, but I don't even bother anymore, because it's like, it's kind of, I mean, it's fun sometimes to figure it out and to share this information with people like yourselves. But I just have fun with it. I'm like, I don't even need any more proof. I've got so much proof. Like, I don't need to explain how the fuck this works anymore. It works. It's great. My life's great. There's a lot of magical shit happening in it. I don't need to explain this. But sometimes I do. And then I make videos like this.